Hey everybody, Shane here from Full Display Gaming, and I finally got around to doing my top 10 metal albums of 2023. This list took me 2 solid days of just going through everything. It was a fun time because I got to listen to a lot of albums over and over again and just, decide on the list. I have a ton of notes. Bunch of bands kept getting put off the list, put back onto the list. But the general consensus in my head was there were so many veteran bands that put out so many good solid records this year. But what outshined them were a lot of newer bands. And I think my list reflects a lot more newer bands, as well as some veterans are on here. But I just had a good time this year enjoying all of this music. Some bands surprised me. Some bands came out of nowhere the last 2-3 months out of the year. It's like, holy shit, you know? So I really want to start off with some honorable mentions first. And that would have been a whole another video in itself. But I have 7 great albums, no particular order. And I just wanted to highlight these 7. So first off, let's start off with 72 Seasons by Metallica. Thought it was a solid record. Saw them twice this year. Had a good time. Next up, we have Baroness with Stone. Saw them again too this year. Had a great time with it. Enjoyed it. And then next up, my first time seeing them this year was Death Clock with Death Album 4. Again, loved the show. Fun time watching them live. And let's see, what else do we got here? Next up, we have Spirit Adrift with Ghost of the Gallows. Another great slow doomy band. Check them out. And then this is a band that genuinely surprised me because I'm not a huge fan of black metal. This was on my top 10, but it got booted out. Black Braid with Black Braid 2. Native American black metal. Mainly written, composed by one person. He has a live backing band. Anyway, go check out some of those bands, as well as 2 albums that I have yet to get, and I thought I had, was Drain, Living Proof, as well as Cattle Decapitation's Terracite. Great solid records. Drain, if you're into hardcore. Living Proof, check out that album. It's a killer album. Didn't make the top 10 for me. As well as Cattle Decapitation, killer fucking death metal album, but didn't make the top 10. So anyway, go check out those bands. I hope you give them a listen. So let's start off with number 10. This veteran band, hailing from Florida, is a death metal band. This is their 16th studio album, and I think we all know who that is. It's Cannibalcorpse with Chaos Horrific. And I saw them this year, and I picked up the signed copy at the show. It wasn't much more than an unsigned copy, so I was like, yeah, I'll just get the signed copy. Thought it was cool. I really enjoyed this record. I knew what I was getting into when I, first listened to it. It's a solid Cannibal Corpse death metal record. It's pretty much almost like a super group because now you have Eric Rutan, who was he's still in Hate Eternal. He's the vocalist and guitarist for that, and he just brings so much to the band's sound. I feel these last 2 albums with him, this one and the one before it, is just so fucking killer. And Eric Rutan mixed this, he mastered it, he did everything for it. Killer fucking stuff. So, number 10, Cannibal Corpse with Chaos Horrific, released on Metal Blade Records. So, number 9, I do not have the album. Again, I saw the band before the album came out earlier this year, and usually I've been picking up these albums at the shows, so I thought I had it. So I ordered it, it's coming, but I listened to this album a lot, and I loved it. Again, coming at number 9, we have another Florida death metal group, Obituary with Dying of Everything, released on Relapse Records. This is their 11th studio album, and again, the Tardy brothers just keep on chugging along. You know what you're getting in an Obituary record. Slow chugging riffs, you're going to be banging your head. Killer tracks off the album that I enjoyed were My Will to Live and the title track Dying of Everything. Real quick, to circle back to our number 10 pick, Cannibal Corpse, 3 tracks I recommend off that album were Bloodblind, Chaos Horrific, as well as Summon for Sacrifice. So let's keep going. Number 8, we have another veteran death metal group coming from Maryland. It's a 3-piece Dying Fetus, Make Them Beg for Death. Released on Relapse Records. This is their 9th studio album. You're getting those bouncy, heavy riffs again with John Gallagher's guttural vocals. I feel like this lineup they have on this album is the best lineup they've had. It's a really solid, steady lineup. This is probably their best album out of their entire discography for me. I absolutely love this album. I had so much fun listening to it. Again, some of the tracks that I recommend off of it were Feast of Ashes and Raised in Victory, Raised in Defeat. Cannot go wrong with this album. I've listened to it more than a few times. I listen to these songs pretty regularly now. Killer fucking album. So that was number 8, Dying Fetus, Make Them Beg for Death. Number 7, we have a band that surprised me. This was a lot higher on the list, and then it was about to get kicked off the list, and then it circled back around and landed here. I was like, that's a solid spot for it. This is Jesus Piece with So Unknown, released on Century Media Records. This is their 2nd full-length album. It's a 4-piece hailing from Philadelphia. They're a metallic hardcore band, and they have the hardcore elements with like a lot of thrash stuff, some other heavy metal stuff. It's just a killer album. You have good fun chants. Like one of the songs I really enjoyed off the album was Fuck the Bullshit, which is FTBS. It's a killer track. If you're ever angry, you just listen to that song, Fuck the Bullshit, right? As well as another track I really enjoyed off the album was Gates of Horn, right? Gates of Horn. And it also has a really cool music video. So again, at number 7, coming from Philadelphia, Jesus Piece. Highly recommended if you want, your hardcore with a side of metal on it. Number 6, coming up from Fort Worth. Oh, no. Not Fort Worth. From Texas. Not sure where. Forget, I should have looked that up. Anyway, I need to keep this going. We have Creeping Death with their album, Boundless Domain. This is their 2nd full-length album, released on NRK Heavy. I really enjoyed this record. It's mixed of hardcore elements with death metal and some crossover elements in it as well. Really fun, bouncy riffs, fast-paced, good soloing. The album didn't bore me. It kept moving at a steady pace. Standout tracks for me were Intestinal Rap featuring George Corpse Grinder from Cannibal Corpse, obviously, as well as the title track Boundless Domain. So coming in at number 6, again, Creeping Death, Boundless Domain. Now moving on, we have a band coming from other side of the world right here. I did not expect to enjoy this band as much as I did. I was able to see them live. They opened up for Twitching Tongues, and I had a really fun time watching them. We have number 5, Cruelty with Untopia, hailing from Japan. This album was released on Profound Lore, as well as this album was mixed and recorded by Taylor Young of Twitching Tongues in his studio, The Pit. This band is described as like death doom with, I'd say, some hardcore elements in there. They have some hardcore bouncy riffs, and then you have slow chugging doom death metal riffs. Killer fucking stuff right there. I recommend checking out the songs. Which ones were they? Untopia, the title track, and Harder Than Before. 2 killer songs that I think that would sum up this album pretty good. Anyway, that was coming at number 5, Cruelty. So these next few bands, some of them I thought, one of them I thought I had the record, but it turns out I didn't. And then the next 3, I literally just found out in the past few weeks, some in the past few days, and I ordered all the records. So, bear with me as we put up some album art here. At number 4, we have Frozensoul with Glacial Domination, released on Century Media. This is their 2nd full-length album. They're a 5-piece hailing from Texas. This album was so fucking good to me. The production was a lot better this time around, coming off of Crypt of Ice, their 2021 release. They had a lot of help from Matthew K. Hafey from Trivium. He helped produce this album, so it's a lot more polished, but it still has that death metal feel to it. For fans, if you were a fan of Bolt Thrower and Mortician, this is, you know, those two bands, they worship those bands, and you can tell from the writing. This fucking album was so good. I really enjoyed it. It's just so funny to me. Again, my favorite tracks off the album were Glacial Domination and Invisible Tormentor, and Morbid Effigy featuring John Gallagher of Dying Fetus. And that video for Morbid Effigy is great. If you want a fun death metal video of some dude going crazy and then he makes a snowman out of guts, just go watch that. And John Gallagher's in it, so it's fucking awesome. So coming at number 4, that was Frozensoul with Glacial Domination. At number 3, this band I never even heard of until I started like looking out, what did I miss this year? There had to have been something I missed. And at number 3, we have Horrendous with Ontological Mysterium, released on Season of Mist. This is their 5th full-length album, and the first since 2018. They're a 4-piece from Philadelphia. I'd say they're proggy death metal with like an Opeth vibe, this album. That's what it felt to me. I haven't even checked out their other 4 albums. Like, now I'm going back and gonna look at their whole discography. But this album was so good. Like, I was like, holy shit! It was just released within the last I think a little bit longer, 6 months. So I don't know why I slept on this. But Horrendous is a killer fucking track, as well as the bass lines in this fucking album were so good. Like, usually in death metal albums, you hear the bass, but not as prominent sometimes, especially in a technical aspect. So like a proggy death technical feel on it, like that's how these tracks were. Each track is different than the next, and it just drew me in, and like I listened to it a few times now. It was great. And notable tracks off that album for me are Aurora, Neo Teresia, that one was cool, as well as the title track Mysterium Ontological. I again had a fun time with this. I'm so glad I discovered them. So again, coming at number 3, Horrendous, Ontological Mysterium. Definitely check that out. My number 2 and my number 1 spots, they were fighting. These are 2 new bands I've discovered just this year. One in the last few days, and it's just been a back and forth kind of battle between the two, where I've listened to these 2 albums on repeat a few times now. And I will just have to say it was neck and neck, and I have to say my number 2 spot is Tombmold, The Enduring Spirit, released off a $20 spin. It's their 4th studio album. It's a death metal trio hailing from Canada, and it was funny. Probably the first time I was exposed to them, people gave them shit for their Decibel magazine cover, because one dude was wearing a Resident Evil 2 shirt, and they just didn't look like death metal dudes. Who cares? Like, this album fucking rips. Like, this album's so technical and proggy, and there's only 7 songs off the album, and the pacing was great. No song was the same. For a death metal album, just to keep it moving, it wasn't just chugging along. It was just everything was so different, and you just kind of get lost in this atmospheric sense, as well as like these brutal blasts, and then just these heavy parts, and then just kind of this spacey kind of vibe. I fucking loved it. This was a great album. My notable tracks for me off of it were the epic 11-minute song Enduring Spirit of Calamity, as well as the really proggy Servants of Possibility. Again, I just found out about this band this year, and I ordered the album. I don't have it yet, so here's the album art. Fucking killer stuff. Tombmold, The Enduring Spirit, coming in at number 2. Now, for our number 1 spot, this album surprised the shit out of me. And I only found out about this album. It came out this year in October, and I don't know why I've slept on this band. Like, I don't get it. Like, this is such a cool concept to me, and I'm just working this band up so much. I will just say this. I'm not, again, a huge black metal fan, but this band drew me the fuck in. Just because it was so different, I was like, oh, that's a fucking badass theme. So at my number 1 spot, we have Wayfarer with American Gothic. This is released on Profound Lore. This is the band's 5th studio album. It's a 4-piece from Denver, formed in 2011. The drummer Isaac is also in Blood Incantation. So if you like Blood Incantation, this is the drummer's other band. And the band is, like, to me, best described it as American Western black metal. Like, their theme is the Old West, and like all those stories surrounding it is such good lore surrounding the American West. I fucking love old cowboy movies. Like, this listening to this album made me want to watch Tombstone, you know? And like, it's just black metal to me. I never could really connect with it. I don't know why. I guess it was just some of it sounds a lot too similar for me. I really like riffs, and I really like kind of an atmospheric tone. I know some black metal gets super atmospheric-y, but like, if I just want a cool overall vibe of the album, and I got this with American Gothic. I just love the twangy Western sounds with the blast beats in it, and then just some of the tracks just go on to like this whole kind of, like, it sounds like a movie score at some points. Like, it's so, the band needs to write a Western, and they need to do the whole tracking for it. It's like a heavy metal Western movie. That's what I felt like listening to this, as well as the opening tracks, the opening track, The Thousand Tombs of Western Promise, and it just had me hooked with a twangy Western intro. Like, it was so fucking cool. And then going with the whole kind of like mellow but heavy black metal sounds, but still like Western-y. I don't know how to describe it. It's so different to me. I just like couldn't stop listening to it. Each track was different. The whole lyrical content is just dark, because that entire period of history was just pretty brutal and rough. There's a lot of shit to talk about there, you know? I listened to the album twice today already, you know, and the music video for the song To Enter My House Justified is a cool, like, Western short film. Like, I thought it was a pretty fucking cool video. Again, just like cowboys and shit everywhere. Like, dude's about to shoot some dude. And fucking cool. Fucking great album. I can't say anything. I'm gonna be here all day talking about this album. I'm gonna listen to it again after this. I ordered the album. I pick it up. It should be coming Saturday, and I can't wait to spin it again. This album and Tombmold's The Enduring Spirit, they were fighting neck and neck. And Wayfarer, I just found out about like 4 days ago, and I was like, how have I slept on this album? Like, I don't understand it. And this was just like all notes and all sorts of stuff, and like other stuff I wrote down. Like, I was doing so much trying to narrow these lists down. I was up until like 5 in the morning trying to get all this down. So there you have it. My number one pick for 2023 is Wayfarer with American Gothic. And to wrap all this up, I want to say thank you to everybody who's watched and everybody who's subscribing. I have a lot more content planned for the new year coming up. I hope everybody has a fun, safe new year. As well as I have some fun collaborations coming up with Eddie from Realms of Metal. Please go check out his channel. I'll have the link below. He is way more knowledgeable about metal and everything than me. I'm just a heavy metal nerd, and I like video games as well as heavy metal. And I'm going to be doing a lot more gaming content, as well as a lot more deep dives into music. This channel is like, I barely started this like 3 months ago, and I'm trying to figure out where I'm going with all of this. But I'm having such a fun time doing it. Please interact with me. Please let me know what your top albums are of the year. Talk shit on my list. I don't care. These lists are all subjective anyway. The best part about these lists is going to see what I missed. So, like, I've been watching a lot of these, and I'm like, oh, who's that band? And then you figure out, like, holy shit, this is really good. And that's exactly what happened with this list, and why bands were getting pushed out, albums were getting pushed out, some were getting plugged back in. And I just had such a fucking fun time doing this. So again, I'm going to start earlier next year. Start taking down notes. Start remembering what I listened to. I think this might be my last video of the year. No, yeah, it's going to be my last solo video of the year. And I'm just having a good time with this channel. So please continue to stop by and check it out if you're enjoying the content. Again, have a safe and happy new year. Thank you, everybody. Take it easy.